What's going on, Pull on 2? Here's your Mythic guide for Phase 3 for Queen Ansurek. The only Mythic difference here is when you go through the portals with one of the essences, it causes the portal to destabilize and basically collapse shortly after. When portals spawn and collapse, they shoot little balls out of them. That's the same as Heroic, they just go a little bit faster on Mythic. Positioning really matters here. We're going to be doing some good baits, some good boss movement, and good boss positioning to allow us to cleave onto the acolytes. We're going to have some specific assignments for the essences on each set. And yeah, it's kind of a general overview of what all of the mechanics that we see in this last phase. So let's go ahead and start. So we're going to start on moon side here. We essentially have a marker on each of the points of the hexagon, and we're going to utilize those for P3 for positioning. We're going to use the entire room most likely for this phase, so positioning has to be pretty important. So we have about 20 seconds when the phase starts to free nuke the boss and have the boss jump down, the boss will jump over towards moon, and the tank will bring it over on star side next to the pillar. And the melee and range teams will split into 2 different stat groups to bait the swirlies and the subsequent pools that spawn because of those swirlies. And the idea is we're putting those swirlies on the edge of the room. So we're baiting those on the edge and then moving in and leaving puddles. Melee, you'll want to leave a little bit of space for the tank in between the pillar and your pools, so the tank can bring out the infest and get ready for the first ad set. So these are the skitter ads that come out. It's the same as the other difficulties. If one skitter gets to the boss, it's probably a wipe. So what we're going to do is utilize every single CC imaginable to make sure those ads don't get in. Primary one being Ring of Peace, which kind of looks like that. And it prevents the ads from getting in, but as a backup, every single time, everyone should be sending their stuns to make sure those ads don't get into the boss, and we just meat grinder these things up and blow them up. So things like Ring of Peace, Shadow Fury, Ursul's, Demon Hunter Stun, Cap Totem, Like Sweep, all of that stuff. Okay, and we nuke those things very quick. Those are 100% prio. Make sure those die immediately, and then we'll get into a Webblade set. And then this is where the next kind of set of series of events will start happening here. As far as boss positioning goes in the acolytes, you guys, the boss positioning dictates where the acolytes spawn. So they will spawn on the nearest, in points, and in is different per set because we start with 3 and then we go to 4, then we go to 4. So the acolytes right now, because the boss is closest to star, will spawn on star, square, and moon. And so if the boss was closer to moon, for example, it would spawn on star, moon, and diamond, which we don't want. So we want these 3 to be centered around star. So this will be more important on the second set when we get there, and I'll talk about that once we get there as well. But boss should be essentially closer to star than it is to square, and closer to star than it is to moon, right? So tanks, got to make sure boss positioning is there to make sure we get the right acolyte spawns. And we basically blow those things up. Range is going to be mostly on moon here to make sure those die, and cleaving onto star. Once star dies, the boss and melee can then rotate up to square and kill that. When they die, they drop their essences on the ground, just like Heroic. Except on Mythic, the essences will persist through the portals, so they just keep adding up. And that's why we have a specific assigns, because you can't take an essence twice. So as we're killing this last one, we're going to get portals to spawn. And we're going to put these in between star and moon for the inner one. And we're going to put the other one on the outside of the pillar there, on the next pillar. Basically, yeah, on the next pillar. I'll probably be pinging in game to show you exactly where that outside one is, but the inside one's easy. It's in between, star and moon. You put that in space, right? Cool. So those are going to be placed. The 3 essences are going to be on the ground, and we're going to be getting ready for the first Nova wave. And the 3 people on the first set of essences and the wave that comes in are going to be specifically 3 people who don't have to take the portal to bring the essences across. And what that does is it allows the portal to not collapse early and have bad overlaps with the balls, and it allows the 3 people with essences to not have circles around them when they port over. So Koosh and Verve specifically I'm going to have, and then Skeeth, it's going to be Skeeth or it's going to be Cookie. I haven't decided completely yet. It just depends on how reliable Skeeth can be to shadow step across. He'll have to wait for Verve or Koosh to get across first and then shadow step to them, whereas Cookie can just double jump. So we will see how that looks. Again, blink for Koosh to get through, and Verve you can demonic circle. After that, the circle is going to be coming in soon. So again, essence carriers don't use the port. They're going to use those abilities to get over or blink across. Everyone else is going to go through the portal and then spread. You're going to be wanting to go through at the last kind of half second on the portal. And then once you go through, just like Heroic, you're going to be spreading out with your circles and trying not to crowd around square here, which we will show here. You can kind of see the circle come in. The 3 will blink across. Everyone else gate. And then we're going to spread with our circles. And the 3 essence people are going to drop their essences around square. Doesn't have to be perfect, but try to leave square clear for those essence people to drop. It will just help for the next set. And then boss can then reposition here. At this point, we're going to be getting the balls that come out of the portals decollapsing. And then we're going to reposition the boss to the next swirly baits. So if you think about the room in, 6 sides, we're going to have a bait side and then a clean side that we use for the portals, and then another bait side and then a clean side for portals, etc. So next position here is going to be on circle pillar, and we're going to do the exact same thing we did at the beginning of the phase. We just have to be wary ranged about the essences that are over on square. So same thing. We're going to be baiting along the outside edge. Tank's going to get the infest. We're going to get pools, and we're going to get ads, and we're going to blow them up using all the CC things that we did previously. So ring of peace, everything. Make sure those things die. At this point, we're going to get another Web Blades set. And during this Web Blades set, we're actually going to have the ads start spawning. So now here's where the tank positioning really matters for the next set, because we're going to get 4 acolytes on this set. And if you draw a line from the center of the room straight through circle through that pillar, you want to be on the leading edge of that, the most clockwise, the most right portion of that. So this positioning is good. And it's good because it's going to spawn the 4 closest points to the boss to spawn the acolytes, which are going to be these 4. And that's where we want the 4 ads to spawn. If the boss is not in front of that line and it is behind that line, that is bad. And again, this is an imaginary line. And the reason for that is it will then spawn those 4 acolytes. And we'll get an acolyte on star when we don't want one on star, because that will be so far behind us. And we have to run back through essences to get those. That's not what we want. We want the acolytes to spawn on these 4. During this acolyte spawn, we're going to get our first set of shackles. And how we're going to deal with shackles here is we're basically going to pixel stack on circle, just the shackle people, get boss close, We're going to basically use defensives here, like AMZ, all that stuff, and just living, okay? And we're going to nuke those shackles as soon as possible while cleaving onto the boss. Very easy. You can pixel stack with those. Everyone else, you can move slightly away because it's fall off damage, but even then, it's not that big of a deal. Just make sure if you have a shackle that you're popping a defensive to keep yourself alive. And then we're going to get some web blades, I think, unless that's just a rogue web blade. Don't worry about it. So the acolytes are going to be up at this point as well. So ranged, we're going to be killing square and circle. Melee, we're going to be killing circle, then skull, and then moving. Yeah, there's the web blades. And then you're going to be moving over and killing diamond. Basically just moving the boss clockwise as each acolyte dies, and it essentially drops their essences. I'm not going to be assigning kicks here. Once you break the shield on the acolyte, you're able to do kicks. We can just YOLO kicks here. If one or two casts goes off from different ones, that's totally okay, as long as one of them doesn't chain cast like 3 times. If that happens, we're dead. So we got to make sure we're on top of kicks and killing them quickly. So at this point, this is what the fight is going to be looking like. We're going to have 7 essences on the ground. 4 of them are going to be over by square, and then we have 3 on the other markers. And this is going to be the hardest part of phase 3. We're going to have portals go out. These are going to be positioned slightly behind circle and on the clean side here between skull and circle. And then we're going to have our assignments for all 7 of these essences. And now I have 2 backups as well, because if one of these people are dead, we have to get the essences through. It doesn't matter who picks it up at this point, but the 2 main backups I have are going to be the paladins. So this is what the essences look like. These people are all going to be just going through the portal. We're not going to be cheesing anything. We're just going through the portal and we're living. I'm not assigning specific essences for the ranged people as well. Just there's 4 over there and 4 ranged people assigned. Just each pick up 1. So you're all going to pick up your essences. You're going to book it over to the portal and get ready for the Nova. This Nova is just like the first one, except the people with the essences, you want to make sure that you go through the portal at literally the last microsecond, because that thing collapses when you take it. So everyone else should go when there's like 0.5 seconds left on the timer and like 0.2 seconds left on the timer for the actual essence people. So again, this is what it looks like. There's everyone, and then there's the essences. And in this case, we're going to use a movement CD, and we're just all going to spread. It doesn't really matter where essences are dropped at this point of the fight, because that's where they're going to stay. And we're not going to pick up any more essences for the rest of the fight. Ideally, you're going to want to put the essences on the trailing edge of where we're fighting. But it really is just live at this point. So what I have that look like, I have it looking like here where the essences are kind of behind the boss. Everyone else that didn't have essences are going to try to get towards the boss. That might not be ideal. That's totally okay if we have a random essence over here. You just have to be cognizant of seeing where it is and not accidentally picking it up. That was the hardest part of the fight. If we live that and everybody's alive, the boss is probably dead. So essentially at this point, we're going to be getting ready for the last set of adds and baits. So right when we drop all the essences on the ground after running through the portal, we're going to have web blades. And then during those web blades, we're going to try to move into position to bait the next set of small adds. And again, this looks exactly like it did the other 2 times. Ranged and melee are baiting towards the outside. Tank is baiting the add towards the outside. We're going to use all of our CC, and we're going to nuke it. And now at this point, we are essentially 100% burning the boss. There's going to be some more stuff happening here that we're going to completely ignore, and we're going to kill the boss. So as long as those adds die on that set, the boss should be dead. We'll get some web blades. We can move out. There should be plenty of room here. We get adds. We get shackles. We're just going to spread with those shackles. We're going to leave the ads alone. If we want, we can bring the boss close to one of those ads to kind of cleave and kick. And ranged can maybe cleave on one of the far ads and make sure we kick. But the boss will probably be dead on the first cast of these Acolytes casts, and that's totally okay. So we're 100% focusing the boss at this point, and we blow that boss up. After that, we get our cutting edge. That's it, gamers. See you there.